DND number 3, Finding Home in Jesus' Name, Chapter 21. No way. No way did they leave the house wide open. It's just impossible. Maybe there's a maid or some kind of cleaning staff. Lisa circled around the house for the third time, looking for movement of any kind, any sound. Nothing. Not a soul was here. She smiled. They were making this way too easy. She approached the house from the rear. The large pool and patio area was sleek and modern, like what she was used to at the hotels. Not at all in keeping with the character of the house. Maybe it was her imagination, but looking up at the three-storied home, it seemed to loom over her menacingly. She looked back over her shoulder, her eyes skimming the lake area where Marcus had assaulted her. It seemed benign in the bright light of day. Turning back, she shook off the feeling of impending doom and reached toward the kitchen doorknob. She already knew it would open. When she tried it the first time, it had amazed her. That was when she took off searching through windows and side doors to find nothing was locked. What an amazingly arrogant gesture, she thought, as she stepped inside the house. She smiled, as if she wasn't being incredibly arrogant herself at this moment. She walked softly at first, straining to hear any sound, a radio, a TV, someone moving, anything, but all she could hear was a clock ticking and the air conditioner running. She began in the kitchen, under the sink, looking for the rat poison, but there was nothing. She quietly pulled out drawers and opened cabinets. Nothing. Sighing heavily, she forced herself to remain calm and continue the search. It was a large home with lots of nooks and crannies. She needed to be patient and meticulous. She was going to put an end to this reign of terror. New scene. Andrea was seething. Marcus had tried to kill Lisa, which was what she'd asked him to do, but she had specifically told him not to hurt Chaz. Oh, there was going to be hell to pay. How dare he go after Chaz, knowing how she felt about him? Did he think she wouldn't find out? Did he think to get rid of his competition? If only he understood that there is no competition. Chaz is the one she loved, had always loved. Marcus was a means to an end. Big and strong enough to do what she asked of him, yes. Easily manipulated, certainly. Apparently not as easily as she originally thought. He hadn't worked fast enough to suit her, so she'd taken things into her own hands. Now her plan was totally screwed. Ah, but it had been a good one. Once they were in Atlanta at Lenox, Andrea would have asked Lisa to walk out to the car with her. And Lisa would have hesitated and asked Andrea why, because she's so pushy. And Andrea would have told her she wanted to put some packages in her trunk, but mostly wanted a chance to speak with Lisa alone. A chance to bare her soul to her new friend. Lisa would have bought it. Then, as they walked across the parking lot, a strange van would have pulled up right in front of them. Lisa would be shoved in the opened door, and the van would have sped off. Andrea would then scream and cry and give the wrong description of the vehicle and the wrong license plates number, and Lisa would be long gone, never to return. Easy. It would have been so easy. And now that spoiled, stupid little witch is at home, waiting for Chaz to come to her. Andrea's eyes narrowed and her jaw clenched. Then a light came on. Lisa's at home, alone. I don't know. Where do you want to eat lunch, Andrea? Megan asked. Hmm? Lunch? Cindy laughed. Yes, lunch. Earth to Andrea. She shrugged. Sorry, I was a little distracted. Actually, I'm not feeling very well. What's wrong? Jody asked. My stomach is just roiling. You know what? I think we need to stop and I'm going to get a friend to come and pick me up. You're kidding. After all the trouble you went through to come along on our trip? Cindy questioned. Sorry, I'm not sure what's wrong with me. I just know I don't want to end up puking all over the car. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure my parents feel the same way. Andrea pulled out her cell. I'll just call a friend. I'm sure he won't mind coming to get me. Cindy shrugged nonchalantly. Suit yourself. New scene. Lisa stared at the picture of Andrea standing by the lake with Marcus behind her. He had his arms around her, along her waist, and his chin resting on her shoulder. It seemed a little unnatural for a brother-sister type pose, and looking at it gave her the creeps. She carefully replaced the silver-framed picture on the dresser. The frustration of not having found any incriminating evidence yet was mounting. She'd covered the entire house, or most of it anyway. She'd been through every drawer, closet, and cabinet she could find. She'd looked under beds, rummaged through medicine cabinets, and read mail. Andrea's room, though interesting, had turned up nothing. There had been several pictures of Chaz. It was sort of sad, actually. Lisa shivered. There just had to be something here. She wandered back down the stairs and back into what Lisa determined was Marcus's office. She'd read his appointment books, looked for secret compartments and filing cabinets and drawers. Nothing. But there had to be something. She opened the desk drawer one more time. Nothing. Some postage stamps, pens, pencils, empty memo pads, push pins, fingernail clippers, and a single key. Lisa lifted the key and examined it closely. Who knew what it went to? It could be anything. It seemed to be a door key, definitely not a car, maybe a safety deposit box, but probably just a door. What door, though? If it was simply an extra key to some unimportant door, why would Marcus have it placed so carefully in his desk drawer? Everything about him screamed obsessive compulsive. He wouldn't have just some unimportant key lying in his drawer. She took the key and walked out into the foyer, peering around for doors with locks. She became extremely excited when she found a door with a lock in the hall, just before the kitchen, but it was not locked and turned out to be a music control panel of some sort. Cursing under her breath, she was headed back to Marcus's office to replace the key when she spotted another door. It was made of the same dark wood as the paneling under the large front staircase. Lisa wouldn't have recognized it as a door at all if she hadn't noticed the small keyhole about waist high. Her heart began to pound. Holding her breath, she eased the key into the lock. It fit and turned easily. Biting her lip, she eased the door open. She was looking at a long staircase that went down about 15 steps to a landing, turned and went further down than she was able to see from her vantage point. She found a light switch and turned it on, slipped the key in her pocket, and softly closed the door behind her. She immediately opened it again to make sure she would be able to get back out, and smiling, she left the door open a crack and headed down the steps. New scene. Perfume bottles, a hand mirror, a crystal vase full of flowers, and a book went flying off Lisa's dresser and crashed to the floor. Andrea stared down at the mess she'd made. She wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. Where was she? Where was that horrible, red-headed woman that wouldn't go away? Had Chaz come and picked her up? Turning abruptly, she practically ran into Tuff. Tuff, the man she'd hired to take care of Lisa, didn't move. What are you staring at? She yelled. The man didn't flinch. One eyebrow raised as he spoke softly. Watch how you speak to me, woman. I'm not one of your minions. Well, what good are you if you can't even find the one I need you to kill? He didn't flinch. I don't kill. I fulfill contracts. Whatever. He shrugged. It looks like it's a wash. When she looked back at him, he was gone. She ran down the stairs and out the back door, shouting for him to wait for her, but as the back door slammed, he was already speeding away. Sighing, she looked back at the door she'd just come out. She was going to have to walk home now, not that she hadn't done it before. She'd walked home from here many times, usually through the woods. She smiled as she thought of the day not long ago when that huge storm had moved through. She'd trailed Lisa. Lisa sensed her presence and took off running like a scared deer. Andrea had to stop herself from bursting out laughing, and then there was the time Chaz and Lisa rode BB and the stupid horse got spooked. She'd so hoped the horse would throw the both of them. No, she usually didn't mind the walk. It's just that today she was in no mood after learning what Marcus had done. And then her plans to get rid of Lisa had fallen through. May as well get something to drink before she took off. Once she was back inside, though, she couldn't help herself. She went back up the stairs, and this time into the room across from Lisa's, the room where Chaz had been staying. A pair of jeans and t-shirt lay on the floor next to the bed. Reverently gathering up the clothing, she held it to her face and breathed deeply. Chaz. Lying back on the bed, she held his clothing close and let his essence surround her. Eyes closed, she imagined him coming toward her. She knew he'd been staying here, but in his own room, she thought happily. He's staying in this room with that evil red-headed person right across the hall. The idea of him and her together brought tears to Andrea's eyes. Why can't you love me, Chaz? She whispered. Her face hardened. I know why. It's because of Lisa. Rising, she went to the dresser and stared in the mirror. There on top of the dresser was aftershave and a comb. Had to be Chaz's comb. She picked it up and ran it through her long dark hair. Oh, Chaz, why can't you see it's me you love? We were meant to be together. Shuffling back into the bedroom across the hall, she opened dresser drawers, flinging Lisa's lingerie across the room. And finally, in utter discomposure, she fell face down on the bed and wept. When she quieted, she sat up, realizing she had to get out of the house. She glanced down at the nightstand, noting one last drawer. As she slit it open, the tiny, shiny metal of Lisa's gun caught her attention immediately. Well, well, what have we here? Andrea mumbled. I better take this for safekeeping. New scene. Holy freaking jackpot, Lisa muttered. The one room was big enough for a sound stage and set up like one as well. Main stage was a bedroom. Several large cameras were set around the bed, along with lighting and microphones. Lisa looked to the right, just past the cameras, and saw a shelf lined with DVDs. Moving forward, she began reading the titles. All of them were girls' names. There was a Becca, Lauren, Deb, Jenny, and Shauna. Lisa's brow furrowed. Wasn't Shauna the name of Andrea's friend she mentioned earlier today? Lisa felt sick. What she saw next truly was sick. Andrea. Lisa counted 6 DVDs with that name on it. It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Hand shaking, she removed one of the DVDs labeled Andrea and looked for a place to load it. A laptop sat on a nearby table. She went to it and started to load the DVD, but instead clicked on a folder on the desktop labeled Movies. Again, each file had a girl's name on it, and she clicked on one labeled Andrea and sank, dumbfounded, into a chair. Her stomach churned as she watched brother and sister performing for the camera. Dear God, Lisa whispered in a prayer. She quickly closed out the file and clicked on another one. Her arms crossed protectively across her heart as she watched Marcus having relations with an unconscious girl. Oh, no, 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 Lisa chanted. Hand shaking, she took out her phone and recorded a short video capturing the essence of what was happening. She closed out the file and went to place the DVD she still held in her hand back in its jewel case and back in place on the shelf. Moving quickly now, she began taking pictures, first of the bed and cameras, and then of the shelf of recordings, zeroing in on the girls' names. She moved around the room, finding more and more to photograph, a large corkboard covered with pictures of Marcus and Andrea in every compromising position one could possibly think of. I'm going to be sick, Lisa said softly. Bingo, she said, as she came upon a metal work table. 2 small amber-colored plastic bottles with Rofinol written by hand in black permanent marker sat side by side on the far back left corner of the table. On the far right corner sat a small bag of a brand name rat poison. The bag was open and had a small scoop sitting next to it. The table was fastidiously neat, keeping in line with Lisa's OCD diagnosis for Mark. Snapping pictures as fast as she could, she had visions of presenting Chaz and Tyson with the evidence they needed to get that stupid warrant. Chaz will be mad at first, but he'll get over it, she thought with a smile. Finally, in the back corner was the most puzzling exhibit. A small wooden table sat against the wall. It was covered with candles, some that had burned down almost to nothing. In a large, ornate frame was a newspaper clipping. Lisa bent down to read it. Local mother and daughter killed by drunk driver. Under the caption was a picture of Carrie and Julie Stewart when they were still alive. There were other clippings laid out neatly, covering the rest of the table, and then some taped to the wall behind, articles about the investigation, pictures of the mangled car, eyewitness accounts, funeral notices, stories about the grieving husband and father. Tears sprang to Lisa's eyes. Why? Why did Marcus have a memorial to Chaz's late wife and daughter? She didn't want to think of it. Not now. She just wanted to get out. Snapping several pictures of the little memorial, she stuffed the phone back in her pocket, turned quickly to leave, and gasped. Andrea stood at the bottom of the steps. Scared you, didn't I? Andrea asked. Andrea held Lisa's gun, and it was pointed right at Lisa's chest. Lisa nodded. Andrea, what are you doing here? Ha! What a question coming from you. Listen, it's not what you think. Don't even try it. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. You've been caught red-handed. Lisa closed her mouth. The situation was volatile, and she didn't want to upset the girl. This poor child had been molested by her older sibling for who knows how long. Lisa just needed to gain her trust somehow. Andrea waved the gun toward the bed. Move over there and sit on the bed, she ordered. Lisa obeyed. As she sat, and before she knew what was happening, Andrea snapped one side of a handcuff around Lisa's wrist. Lisa reacted instinctively, jerking her arm away from Andrea and rolling to the opposite side of the bed. She rose, ready to pounce on Andrea. No way was some skinny little messed up girl going to be able to handcuff her. Andrea had the gun pointed directly at Lisa. Do you think I won't shoot? Lisa wanted to say that she was too much a coward to shoot her, but she didn't want to tempt fate. Look, Andrea, I'm not letting you handcuff me to the bed. You don't have a choice in the matter. Lisa's eyebrows rose. You won't get away with this. Wrong again. Now get over here and sit. Lisa shook her head. No way. If you think... The blast from the gun seemed louder than what Lisa remembered during her training. She staggered back, gripping her arm where the bullet entered. Blood oozed out between her fingers. Lisa looked up incredulously at Andrea. Though she'd been working on it since she and Chaz had started praying together, the curses flew out of her mouth. You blank shot me, you little... She slipped down into the bed, suddenly dizzy and nauseated. One bullet left, Lisa. I promise I won't waste it. Andrea moved toward Lisa, grabbed her wounded arm that had the cuff attached to her wrist. Lisa cried out in pain. Hurts, does it? Andrea asked sarcastically as she locked the other end of the cuff around the top rail of the headboard. Breathing heavy with shock and pain, Lisa glared at Andrea. What's your plan, Andrea? You can't keep me here forever. Andrea smiled. I have no intention of keeping you here. Don't worry. You won't be here very long at all. She pulled out her cell phone. Hey, Marcus. Yes, I know you're with clients. I just wanted to let you know that I have a really wonderful surprise for you when you get home. You wish. Just hurry home. You'll see. Lisa tried hard to blink back the tears that threatened. She was mortified when she tried to speak, and her voice cracked with emotion. Nevertheless, she ventured on. Andrea, I know about you and Marcus. I know how he's abused you all these years. I saw it on one of the files on the computer. I understand how you can have a false sense of loyalty to him. Andrea burst out laughing. Oh, Lisa, that's good, real good, but you are so very wrong. You've got it all mixed up. I'm the one in charge. Oh, I let Marcus think that he's the big bad dude, but I'm the one pulling all the strings. I've got him wrapped around my little finger. I have for a long time now. I can get him to do anything for me. Anything. Lisa leaned her head back against the wall and closed her eyes. How is she going to get herself out of this? How long will it be before Chaz discovers she's gone? As if the thought of him caused it to happen, her cell phone rang. Andrea leaped for her and wrestled the phone away and let it go to message, then waved the phone at Lisa. What's the password? Go to hell. Andrea smiled sweetly. Aw, come on now, Lisa. It was Chaz. You know you want to hear what he had to say. Tell you what, you don't have to tell me the password. Just punch it in. She held the phone up next to Lisa's hand and waited. It only took Lisa a second to admit that she wanted desperately to hear what Chaz had to say. She put in the code. Grinning, Andrea played the message on speaker, holding the phone out so they both could hear. Hey, Red. I just spoke to John, and he told me you stayed home with a headache. He also said you were going to call me, and since you didn't, I'm guessing you're still asleep. I'll check back with you later. I've been arguing with these guys all day. Looks like this is a waste of time. Anyway, I'll see you soon, babe. I love you. Andrea tucked the phone back in her pocket. Aw, how sweet. Lisa only glared. She was queasy and lightheaded and could think of no response. Andrea eyed her. Remember when you got lost in the woods? Lisa closed her eyes. You got really scared. I know that because it was me. It took everything I had to keep from laughing. When Lisa didn't react to that information, Andrea tried a different surprise. I was going to ask Marcus to take care of that stupid kitten for me, but I decided to do it myself. Lisa opened her eyes and glared at the sick girl. You know, it wasn't hard at all. A little messy, though. A tear escaped, and Lisa tried to wipe her face on her shoulder. Aw, it's okay, Andrea said, moving closer. You'll soon be out of your misery. New scene. Chaz was headed to his car when Tyson stepped out and called him and motioned him back inside. What's up? Chaz asked as he got to the door. Glenn Truitt just showed up. He says Marcus is the one who gave him the Rofinol. We're working on the warrant now. How long will it take? Tyson shrugged. Could take an hour. Could take till morning. By morning, the place will be clean. Well, I think we'll get it sooner than later. Go home. I'll call you when it happens. Chaz breathed a sigh of relief. Everything would soon be over. Then he and Lisa could get on with their lives. Just thinking about getting home to her and finding her all curled up in bed made him smile. New scene. Pain arced through her shoulder, but she only had the strength to give a soft moan. Andrea was shaking her. Lisa opened her eyes. It felt as if her arm was on fire. What are you going to do? Lisa asked. Now, don't bother yourself about that, Andrea said. You'll know soon enough. Marcus is almost home. She stood up as she heard a door slam upstairs. That must be him now. You wait right here, she said with a giggle. She ran up the steps. Marcus was already in his study, pouring a stiff drink. Hey, she said from the doorway. He turned and smiled. Hi, Andrea. So tell me, what's the surprise you bought for me today? He walked to his chair, sat down, and pulled at his tie. Here, let me do that, Andrea purred. She leaned close, keeping her eyes on him as she removed his tie. You're in an awfully good mood, Marcus said. Why? She took his hand. You'll see. Come with me. He gulped his drink and allowed her to pull him along. When they started down the steps, he sighed. Andrea, how many times have I told you not to come down here when I'm not home? I had to. The door was open, and I came down looking for you. The door was not open. I never leave it open. I know. I thought it was strange, and when I got down the steps, you'll never guess who I caught down in your room. Who? Marcus asked, his voice rising in anger. Her, Andrea said as they entered the room. Marcus stood, his mouth open. What is she doing here? He moved toward Lisa, bending over her. What happened to her? I shot her. I had to. She wouldn't do what I said. He sighed and took Lisa by the hair and shook her, and she opened her eyes. Marcus? His eyes narrowed. You shouldn't have come into my home, Lisa. He turned back to his sister. This isn't how it should be done, Andrea. I told you I'd take care of it. Well, you took too long, and I didn't ask her to come over here snooping around. She took pictures down here. She tossed him Lisa's phone. He shook his head. We certainly can't have anyone seeing those, now can we? Marcus, Lisa said weakly, people will know where I've gone. He rose. Yes, they will. But when they come looking, there won't be a trace of you. What are you going to do? Lisa asked, hating the fear in her voice. Good question. Any suggestions, Andrea? Drown her in the lake. He shook his head. I don't like it. A body too close to the house, too easily linked to us. She shrugged. Well, that pickup you used in Carrie's accident has been at the bottom of that lake for 3 years, and no one has ever come looking. No, oh no, Lisa whimpered. Please tell me it's not true. Marcus turned his head to slowly gaze at her. What? Oh, there's definitely a car in the lake, and yes, it's the one that ran Carrie Stewart's car off the road. You killed Chaz's wife and daughter? Lisa asked as tears ran down her face. Easily. You, on the other hand, have proven to be quite a handful. She began to violently struggle against the cuffs that held her to the headboard. It was futile. She knew it was futile, but the knowledge didn't keep her from trying. Finally, her energy spent, she stilled. Why, Marcus? Why would you kill a woman and her baby? A sweet, innocent baby. He looked at her as if he couldn't believe his ears. Well, for Andrea, of course. Andrea smiled sweetly. I told you, Lisa, he'd do anything for me. I wanted Chaz. I needed Carrie and I wanted Chaz. I needed Carrie and Julie gone. Marcus took care of it. Simple and easy. Lisa shook her head as she wept. Dear God. Dear God. Andrea ignored her. So, what do you think, Marcus? Blake? I suppose I have no choice. We have to get rid of her quickly. Someone is going to come looking for her eventually. Probably tonight, but I'll have to move her again once we have a more workable plan. For now, grab the duct tape for me off that shelf over there, he ordered. New scene. Chaz muttered as he came in the front door. She was supposed to keep the system armed. Lisa! He yelled as he ran up the steps. He threw open the door to her room. His heart pounded. What the hell? He fumbled for his cell and dialed his brother. Lisa's gone. Lisa's gone. Her room is trashed. I'm going over there. I don't give a crap about a warrant. Well, I was just about to call you. We've got it. I'm on my way. Chaz will find her. We will. Wait for me, Chaz. Yeah, right. He was out the door. He jumped in his Jeep, but instead of heading to the Winstead home, he turned toward his own house. He dialed John as he drove. Yo, John answered. Lisa's in trouble, Chaz said. Tell me everything that happened. You said earlier that Andrea decided to join them? John filled Chaz in on Andrea's request to join them, Lisa's bid to stay home, and Andrea's decision to stay behind once they were on the road. When Chaz told John what he'd found when he arrived home, John was devastated. I should have called you, man. I should have known something was up. You can't read minds, John. First, you did call me. Second, I should have come home the minute I called her and she didn't answer. Who knows how long she's been gone? Oh, dear Lord Jesus, I should have come home. Okay, okay. Focus. I'm at least 2 hours away. It's all you. I'm headed to my house to get my piece because I'm going to blow his head off. Well, I swear I want to tell you that you need to calm down and think twice before you act. But I can't. John, what if I'm too late? What if I find him but she's not with him? What if he's already killed her and hidden her body? He stopped and breathed. John blew out of breath. I'll call a friend and get a trace on her cell phone. John, lay on me some of your special forces stuff. How do I handle this? Well, if you find him and she's not with him, you can make him talk. Don't hit a main artery. Stay with hands and feet, knees maybe. Don't go in there guns blazing. Don't let them know you're there at all. Go quietly. If you come across a girl, take her out of the picture. A well-placed uppercut should do it. Where's your brother? He's on his way, Chaz answered as he charged up the stairs of his home and moved toward his dresser. Jerking open the bottom drawer, he grabbed his Glock and 2 magazines, loading one and stuffing the other in his pocket. Okay, then you don't have a lot of time to find Marcus and make him talk before the cops get there and do things by the book. Got it? Chaz climbed back into his Jeep. Got it. Go find her, man. On it, Chaz said, as he tossed the phone onto the passenger seat. His hand shook. He will find her in time, he said to himself, or he will die trying. His mind wanted to slip into grieving mode. He'd been in that mode for so long it came back easily. He shook it off. All her life, Lisa had no one to depend on, no one to take care of her, and he would not let her down now. New scene. Lisa's fingernails raked the side of Marcus's face as he wrestled with her. You little, he screamed before he backhanded her. The blow only slowed her down for a second. She fought like a wildcat. Will you help me, please? Marcus yelled at Andrea. Andrea raised her chin and tried to decide what to do. The moment Big Brother had unlocked the handcuff from the headboard, Lisa had swung her arm and knocked Marcus in the head with the dangling cuff. Pretty gutsy, seeing as that was the arm that held a bullet. They'd rolled off the bed together and were now grappling across the floor. Andrea approached and delivered a swift kick to Lisa's forehead as she tried to crawl away, and Lisa collapsed face down. Marcus looked up at Andrea. It's about time. She shrugged. I thought you might be able to handle her without my help. Just shut up and help, he answered as he rolled her over onto her back. He grabbed her hands and held them together. Start taping. Andrea knelt and began winding duct tape around Lisa's arms, from elbow to wrist. Lisa moaned as she came to and tried to resist. Andrea jerked on her arms. Oh, will you just give it a rest, she spat. Once they finished taping her arms, they went to work on her legs, taping them from knees to ankles, and finally they taped her already secured arms to her body. By the time they finished, she looked like a silver mummy. Lisa knew real fear. She was going to die. Why did she think she could get away with sneaking in here? Her moment of bravery had turned to stupidity real quick. She thought to put all this trouble to rest, but the only thing being put to rest was her. She couldn't think of anything to say that might sway them. They were already speaking to each other as if she didn't exist. That meant they already thought of her as dead, and they really did mean to kill her since they hadn't even tried to hide what they'd done to Carrie and Julie. She thought of Chaz and how hard this was going to be for him. He'd just barely gotten past the grief of losing his family, and now he would lose her too. Lord, but she hoped it didn't completely destroy him. And Grams, and Dad, and Megan. Tears welled and overflowed. Looking up, she caught Marcus's eye. Had she seen a shred of compassion? She had originally thought Marcus had seduced and manipulated his little sister, but it was evident that wasn't the case. Little Sis was an evil monster, so her only hope was with Marcus. You don't have to do everything she says, Marcus. Shut up, Andrea barked. I'm not talking to you, Lisa answered. That earned her a slap across the face. You're dead. You're a dead woman, Andrea screeched as Marcus pulled her away. He set her aside. We don't have time for this, Andrea, he said calmly. Marcus, you won't get away with this, Lisa continued. They're going to question you and Andrea. Do you really think she won't turn on you in a second if she thinks they may try to pin my murder on her? Don't think you can turn us against each other, Marcus said. There won't be any murder to try to pin on anyone because they won't have a body. I once thought you were halfway intelligent. They'll drag your leg, Marcus. By the time they do, you won't be there anymore. I'm going to move your body as soon as I get past the first wave of people searching for you. Are you going to move the car too? And who do you think is going down for the murder of Chaz's wife and daughter when they find that car? Marcus ran a hand through his hair. Don't let what she says get to you, Marcus, Andrea said. You and me, we have to stick together. She's trying to turn you against me. Marcus looked down at Lisa, then turned and faced his sister. Making a decision, he drew a deep breath. And that is the end of chapter 21.